Suite's not available. Sylvia didn't look up from her phone. She said it the way you'd say the kitchen's closed. Flat, final, already moving on. The woman standing at the front desk of the Alderton Grand didn't raise her voice. She set her single carry-on bag, canvas, worn at one corner, on the marble floor and said, "I have a reservation. Name Loretta Vane." Sylvia typed 3 letters, stopped, typed again. Not the real kind. "I'm not seeing anything under that name, Trevane Whitmore." Another pause. Longer this time. "Ma'am, I do see a reservation, but that suite has been reassigned to a priority guest. We have a standard double on the 11th floor we can offer you at the same rate." Loretta Vane looked at the woman behind the desk. She was young, maybe 24, with a French twist so tight it looked like it hurt, and a name tag that read Sylvia, guest experience. She had not once made eye contact. "The Whitmore suite," Loretta said. "That's the reservation." Sylvia smiled again, the same smile. "I understand that's frustrating. The standard double is a lovely room. We can also offer a complimentary breakfast to make up for the inconvenience. Who reassigned it?" "I'm not able to share that information." "Who's your manager?" Sylvia's smile didn't move. "Our director of guest services is handling another matter at the moment. If you'd like to wait in the lounge, I can have someone bring you a—" "I'll wait here." There was a man to Loretta's left, business suit, rollerbag watching. He looked away when she glanced at him. On the other side of the lobby, a bellman in a red vest was guiding a couple in matching tennis whites toward the elevator. Nobody came to the desk. Loretta took her phone from her coat pocket and made a call. She didn't say much. "Yes, the Alderton. Tonight. No. Just let them know I'm here." She hung up. Sylvia was still typing, not looking up. 2 minutes passed, then 3. Then the phone at the desk rang and Sylvia picked it up, and her expression did something complicated. The smile slipped, rearranged itself, and came back smaller. Yes, of course, I understand." She hung up. She finally looked at Loretta. "Mrs. Vane Whitmore, I'm so sorry for the confusion. Your suite is ready. If you'd like to follow Marcus—" "In a moment," Loretta said. "First, I'd like to know which priority guest was moved into my suite, and I'd like that in writing." Sylvia opened her mouth, closed it. "I'd also like the name of whoever authorized the reassignment." The man to Loretta's left had not moved. He was still watching, pretending not to. The bellman in the red vest had come back without the tennis couple and was standing near the luggage rack, not moving. Loretta wasn't angry. That was the thing. She had the same expression she'd walked in with, patient still, the kind of still that takes a long time to learn. The Alderton Grand had been in the Whitmore family for 41 years. Not the building itself. The building had been there since 1924, a limestone pile on the corner of 5th and Hartwell that had survived the Depression and 2 fires and a brief stint as a parking garage in the 1970s. But the hotel, the Alderton Grand, the reputation, the 6-star rating, the waiting list for the penthouse floor, that had been built by Loretta's father-in-law, Edmund Whitmore, starting in 1983 with a loan he'd taken out against his house and a floor plan sketched on a paper bag. Edmund had died 4 years ago. His son, Thomas Whitmore, had followed him 18 months later, a heart attack at 61, in the middle of a board meeting, which Edmund probably would have called an appropriate way to go. That left Loretta. Not just the hotel, the holding company, the 14 properties in 9 states, the charitable foundation, the seat on the board of a university she'd never attended, and a symphony she went to twice a year because Thomas had loved it. She hadn't asked for any of it. She'd been a civil rights attorney when she met Thomas, mid-30s, working 80-hour weeks, still paying off student loans. He'd been the client of a colleague, a deposition that ran long, a lunch that turned into dinner. They'd been married for 22 years. She still kept her law license current. She didn't know exactly why. Habit, maybe. Or because Edmund had told her once, not unkindly, that she'd always seemed like someone who needed a door she could walk out of. He'd meant it as a compliment. She'd taken it as one. The suite was on the top floor. It had a terrace that looked north over the park, a kitchen no one ever used, and a guest book on the side table with Thomas's handwriting in it from 11 years ago, a note to the staff thanking them by name. Loretta had asked them to leave the page in. She sat down in the chair by the window and took off her shoes and looked at the city for a while. Her assistant, Priya. No, wait. She didn't have a Priya here. Her assistant was a young man named Colt who sent too many emails but remembered everything and never needed to be told a thing twice. He called 10 minutes after she'd settled in. The manager apologized. Eventually, do you want me to pull the reservation records? See what actually happened? I already know what happened. Someone saw a black woman in a canvas bag and a rain jacket and decided she'd made a mistake. A pause. Do you want me to do anything about it? Loretta thought about Sylvia at the front desk. The smile that never reached anywhere, the way she'd typed those 3 letters and stopped. Not tonight, she said, but get me the names of everyone on shift at the front desk. And find out who's in the Hartwell suite. That's the one directly below mine. That's where they put the priority guest on it. She put the phone down and looked out the window. The park was green and wet from an afternoon rain. A woman was walking a dog on the path below. A kid on a bike. Ordinary city thing. Loretta Vane Whitmore owned the building they were walking past. She'd never loved that fact. Thomas had. He'd light up talking about the properties, the history, the architecture, the bones of a place. She'd always cared more about what went on inside them, whether the people working 12-hour shifts had health insurance, whether the security contracts were clean, whether the maintenance staff knew they could call HR without going through a supervisor first. She thought about these things often. She thought about them again now. In the morning, she took the elevator down to the lobby at 7:15. No heels, same rain jacket, hair pulled back. The overnight shift had turned over. A young man named, according to his tag, Derek, guest experience, was at the front desk. He greeted her before she reached the counter. Good morning. Miss Vane Whitmore, right? Can I help you with anything? She liked that. She noted it. Coffee, she asked. Bar opens at 7:30. But I can get you something from the back right now if you'd like. No, I'll wait. She sat in the lobby. Not the lounge. The lobby, in one of the low chairs near the window, where she could see the desk and the door and the elevator bank all at once. Old habit from years of depositions. Sit where you can see everything and no one can come up behind you. At 7:42, a man came out of the elevator moving fast, mid-50s, pink polo shirt, small rolling bag, the look of someone who'd slept in his suit. He went straight to the desk. I need a late checkout extended to 2. I've already spoken to someone about this. Derek smiled. Of course, sir. Can I get your name? Garfield. Room. He glanced at his keycard. 804. One moment, Derek typed. I do see a note here. I'm going to check with our manager on that, since the room's been held for a 3 p.m. arrival, but I want to make sure we handle it right. Garfield made a sound that wasn't a word. Loretta watched. She didn't look away. At 8:15, a woman arrived at the desk with 2 children. A boy, maybe 7, and a girl a few years younger. The girl was crying quietly. The woman had dark circles under her eyes and was holding a car seat in one hand and a diaper bag in the other. We had an early check-in request, the woman said. Booked 2 months ago. My daughter has an appointment at Children's Hospital at 10 and I. What's the name? Hendricks. Angela Hendricks, Derek typed. He made a face. Not a bad face, a working on it face. Ms. Hendricks, I see the request. I want to be honest with you. We're still in turnover, but I'm going to see what I can do. Can I get you and your kid set up in the lounge with some breakfast while I work on this? On us. The woman's shoulders came down about half an inch. The girl kept crying softly. Yeah, Angela said. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Derek came around the desk himself and walked them over. Loretta watched all of this. At 9 o'clock, she went to the management offices on the 2nd floor and asked for Philip Strand. But wait, that name was used. She needed someone new. The general manager's name she'd confirmed from Colt the night before was a man named Barrett Ogle. He'd been with the Alderton for 6 years, the last 2 as GM. His reviews from staff were mediocre in a specific way. Not cruel, not incompetent, but the kind of manager who let things happen by not stopping them. He met her in the small conference room off the main office. He was already sweating slightly. Mrs. Vane Whitmore, I am so sorry about last night. It was an unacceptable. Sit down, Barrett. He sat. Tell me who was in the Hartwell suite. He cleared his throat. A returning guest. A corporate client, actually. They book several rooms a year through. That's not what I asked. I asked who was in the room. A Mr. He checked his tablet. Garrison Lowe. He's with Lowe Meridian Capital. He's booked with us 4 times this year. And what rate does he book at? Barrett shifted. Corporate rate. Negotiated in the Whitmore suite? What rate was that booked at? He knew the answer. She could see that he knew it. Full rate, he said. Twice what Garrison Low pays? Yes. Loretta looked at him for a moment, not unkindly, just straight. I want you to understand something, she said. I'm not here because I was personally offended last night. I wasn't, not really. I've been through enough hotel lobbies to know what happened and why. I'm here because this is the 4th time in 2 years this has happened at an Alderton property. Not to me specifically. To guests. I've seen the complaint logs. Barrett opened his mouth. I have access to the complaint logs, she said. I have access to everything, Barrett. I've had access since November of 2023, when Thomas died and the board put me in the chair. I just don't usually show up in person. He was very still now. I'm not going to fire you, she said. I'm going to give you 60 days. In 60 days, I want a bias training protocol, reviewed and signed off by HR for every public-facing employee in this building. I want a written policy, clear, specific, about suite reassigns, what authorizes them, who can approve them, and what documentation is required. And I want the complaint log for guest services going back 3 years audited by someone outside this property. She stood up. Your front desk person last night, Sylvia. She goes on a performance plan. She's not fired. People can learn. But she's on a plan. And Derek, the overnight guy, put him in for a raise. He handled a difficult guest and a family in distress this morning in the first hour of his shift, and I didn't see him make a single wrong move. Barrett wrote this down. His hand was slightly unsteady. One more thing, she said. The woman this morning, Angela Hendricks, room request for early check-in. 2 kids, appointment at Children's Hospital. Is she in a room? Barrett checked his tablet. She was accommodated at 9:20. Good. Loretta picked up her coat from the back of the chair. Make sure housekeeping on her floor knows she has a small child, and have the kitchen send something up. Something real, not the amenity basket. Eggs, fruit, whatever they want. She walked out. She took the stairs back down to the lobby. She liked stairs in hotels. You saw different things. A housekeeper on the 3rd floor landing with her cart, folding a towel with the practice snaps of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. A maintenance guy on 2, checking a baseboard. People working. In the lobby, she stopped at the desk. Derek looked up. Everything okay, Miss Vane Whitmore? You handled that family well this morning, she said. The mother with the 2 kids. He blinked. Thank you. She seemed like she needed. He stopped, reconsidered. It seemed like the right thing. It was. She picked up her bag. Have a good day, Derek. You too, ma'am. Safe travels. Outside, the morning had cleared. The rain was gone, the sidewalk still dark and wet. Loretta put on her sunglasses and stood for a moment on the front steps of the Alderton Grand, looking up at the limestone facade, the carved window frames, the copper letters above the door, the flag moving slowly in the wind. Thomas used to say that a hotel was the most honest building you could own, because you couldn't hide what you were. Everyone who walked through the door felt it within 5 minutes, whether they were welcome, whether they mattered, whether the people behind the desk saw them. You can renovate everything else, he'd told her once. New curtains, new lobby, new restaurant, but you can't renovate how people treat each other. That's the whole thing, Loretta. That's the whole thing. Colt called as she reached the sidewalk. Anything you need from me? Draft a memo to the Alderton property directors. All 14. I want to announce a policy review. Guest services practices, complaint logs, reassignment protocols. Keep the language factual, no drama. Set a 30-day deadline for initial responses. Do you want your name on it or do you want it to go through legal? My name, she said. They should know it came from me. She crossed the street into the park. The path was wet, and the trees were loud with birds she couldn't name. Somewhere ahead, a kid was already on a bicycle, cutting across the grass. Loretta walked, not because she had to be anywhere, just because the morning was there, and she'd learned years ago, somewhere between the law firm and the deposition that became a dinner, and the 22 years that followed and the empty apartment she'd come home to since, that the moments right after you've said a hard, true thing are usually the clearest ones you get. She thought about Sylvia at her desk, that smile like a door that didn't open all the way. She thought about Angela Hendricks and her daughter, who'd been crying softly in a hotel lobby at 8 in the morning with a car seat in one hand and nowhere to sit down. She thought about the comment Thomas had made once, early on when she'd told him about a case she was working. A man turned away from a rental office 3 times before someone finally read his paperwork. Thomas had listened to the whole story without interrupting, which was something she'd loved about him from the start, and then he'd said, "The problem isn't always the bad actor. Sometimes the problem is everyone who watched and didn't say anything." She'd won that case, filed in federal court, argued it in front of a judge who'd had the look of someone who didn't want to be convinced and was anyway. The man got his apartment. The rental company paid a fine they could afford and changed nothing, which was the part she'd never entirely forgiven. But she'd gotten him the apartment. You hold on to those, the ones you got over the line. At 11, she had a call with the board. She took it from a bench in the park, which she suspected annoyed at least two of them. One of the board members, a man named Aldous, who had been Edmund's college roommate and hadn't fully accepted that Edmund was gone, said, as he always did, that he hoped she wasn't planning any dramatic changes. "Just a policy review," she said. "Guest services practices? Routine?" She thought about the lobby the night before, about Sylvia's smile and the 3 letters she'd typed and stopped, about the man in the pink polo and the mother with 2 children and the different ways they'd been greeted at the same desk on the same morning. "Overdue," she said. Aldous made a sound of vague agreement. The call moved on. Before she left the city, she went back inside the Alderton, took the elevator up, and stopped at the room Angela Hendricks had been given. She knocked. The door opened. The woman looked startled, the little girl peering out from behind her knees. "Miss Hendricks, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm Loretta Vane Whitmore. She paused, because the next sentence was always the strange one. "I own the hotel. I just wanted to make sure you'd been taken care of this morning." Angela stared at her, then her eyes went to the rain jacket, the canvas bag, the comfortable shoes. "You own?" "Yes," Loretta smiled, the real kind. "How's the room? Everything okay?" Angela glanced back. The little girl was watching with enormous eyes. "It's good. They sent breakfast. I didn't." She stopped. "We didn't expect that." "The appointment," Loretta said. "At the hospital. How is she?" Angela's face did something complicated. "She's okay. She's better. She exhaled. "It's been a hard few months. I know what those feel like." The little girl said something from behind Angela's knee. Loretta bent down slightly. "What's that?" She said, "Thank you for the eggs," Angela said. "She really likes eggs." Loretta looked at the girl, small, watchful, the tear tracks from the morning still faint on her cheeks. "You're very welcome," Loretta said. She walked back down the stairs. Through the lobby, Derek had turned over to the afternoon shift, someone she didn't know yet, and out through the brass doors onto 5th and Hartwell. Her car was waiting. Colt had arranged it without being asked, which was why she'd hired him. She put her bag in the back and got in and looked out the window as they pulled into traffic. The Alderton's limestone facade slid past, the copper letters catching the noon light. She pulled out her phone and typed a message to Colt. "Find out what Angela Hendricks's daughter's name is. I want to send something, not a hotel reel. A book, maybe. Ask her first." She put the phone away. The car moved north. Here's what most people don't know about the kind of power Loretta Vane Whitmore carried. It wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It wore a rain jacket and a canvas bag and set its carry-on down on a marble floor and said, simply, "I have a reservation." It didn't need to explain itself. It didn't need to prove itself. It had already been itself, fully, for 53 years. Through law school and 80-hour weeks, and a marriage that lasted longer than most people's belief in marriage, and a grief that was still, honestly, happening. The woman at the front desk had looked at her and seen a mistake. A woman in the wrong place, at the wrong rate, in the wrong room. She hadn't seen the person. That was the thing Loretta had been thinking about since the night before, sitting in the chair by the window with the city spread out below her. Not the inconvenience of it. She'd had inconveniences. Not even the insult, exactly, though it was that too. It was the simplicity of the assumption. The ease of it. The way it happened without anyone deciding to be cruel. No villain twirling a mustache. Just a young woman who looked at another woman and calculated, in about 3 seconds, what she was worth, and got it completely, absolutely wrong. The car crossed the bridge. The river below was silver in the midday light. Loretta thought about what Thomas would have said. He'd have found something useful in it. He always did. "This is information," he'd have said. "Now you know. Now you can do something." She already knew what she was going to do. She'd known since she sat down in the lobby at 7:15 and watched Derek walk a tired mother and her crying daughter to a table and ask what they wanted to eat. You fix the thing. Not because it happened to you specifically. Not for revenge, not for the satisfaction, not even for the apology that came eventually and meant less than it should. But because somewhere in this city tonight, and in 12 other cities where the Alderton name was on a building, there was someone else walking through a door, and being looked at, and being calculated in 3 seconds, and being found, wrongly, to be less than they were. That person deserved better. That was the whole thing. That was, as Thomas would have said, the whole thing. If this story made you feel something, leave it in the comments. Not because we need the validation, but because these conversations matter. Tell us about a time someone looked right past you, or a time someone didn't. The ones who saw you, they're worth talking about too. If you're new here, this is what we do at Velvet Verdict. We tell the stories that don't always make the news, the quiet ones, the real ones, the ones that end not with a headline but with a policy memo and a book sent to a little girl who really likes eggs. Like this video if you stayed till the end. Share it if you know someone who needed to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you. We'll see you in the next one.